Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, this is BestInSlot and welcome back to Cryptid Park, our Jurassic World Evolution series, where we try to build a... we try to build a park tour with dinosaurs that resembles all the weird and wonderful cryptid varieties from all around the world. And breathe. In today's episode, we're going to do something very famous and very Australian. Now, before we move on to that, two things I want to cover very quickly. The first is I just want to apologise about the little delay on this video. You know, I took the last 4 or 5 days off. I died slightly, but that's okay. I'm moderately less dead right now, although it is 7 AM and I haven't slept yet. So, other than that, we're feeling good. Big thumbs up. The second thing is, big shout out to Sweetener and their exotic dinosaur pack. And now we're going to show you two different dinosaurs from that pack today. One of them is actually a replacement for one we had in the past. So Sweetener actually sent us the Dino in the past, and we used it for this creature right here. Cannot for the life of me remember what it was meant to be. Was it the Mapinguari? Maybe. I don't remember. Anyway, they actually brought out a new Dino as part of this exotic dinosaur pack. I'm going to link the pack down below. It comes with two other dinosaurs, one of which we're going to look at. The third can be a surprise. You can go check it out for yourselves. But the new Dino is way better than the old one. It looks 100 times better. It looks absolutely fantastic. So big shout out to Sweetener. We'll do our intro paragraph and then we will pop out our other brand new dinosaur for the exotic dinosaur pack. So this is not a mod spotlight, can I just get that out of the way right now, okay? If you're here just for the dinosaurs, you're in for a bad time. We're here to talk about cryptids. So, the Bunyip. I call it Bunyip all the time. I'm having to work really hard not to call it the Bunyip. The Bunyip. Possibly the most famous Australian cryptid. This swamp-dwelling beastie makes for a difficult video, to be honest, because nobody really knows what it's meant to look like. You'll see what I mean very soon. The Bunyip is at least a proper cryptid, and one of the oldest we've looked at in this series. The first record of the name and then eventual contact originates from as long ago as the early 1800s, but it spread to the European explorers where we got this stuff from, by way of Australia's native Aboriginal population. So tales of the creature are likely much older than even the early 1800s. Basically, in my opinion, the Bunyip may actually be older than the United States. You know, as in the formation of the United States, which I believe was like 1770 something. Anyways, I just thought that was funny. The name Bunyip, usually taken to mean devil or evil spirit or big spooky dude, I made that last one up, seems to originate from an Australian newspaper in 1812. It appeared as like Bunyip or something. It was kind of like a slight twist on it. And it's described as a large black creature with a terrible voice that scares the Aboriginal people. A little warning if you do any research for this, by the way. The Aboriginal people are referred to a lot in a lot of the early recordings of the Bunyip, and they're not often referred to in a very pleasant way. It's just something you have to kind of try to ignore. I've cut it out of the video for that purpose as well, but okay. But just this little warning for some people who may not enjoy that. Well, not that anyone should. You know what I mean. You know what I'm getting at. A little later, in 1818, the European explorer Howard Humes, which is a great name, discovered a set of remains that he believed to be a manatee or hippopotamus. So this was 1818. This was the first time we got tangible physical evidence of the Bunyip. The Philosophical Society of Australasia, knowledgeable of the Bunyip already and believing that Humes may have found it, they offered to pay for Humes to send the bones to them. Humes refused, however, assumedly because bones are super heavy and he was having a bad day of it already. Now that gives us a good idea of the Bunyip's origins though, often seen dwelling in swamps and sometimes depicted as a large, chunky, hippo-like herbivorous creature. Unfortunately for me, it's depicted about 5,000 other ways as well, some of which are mighty bloody weird, as you shall see. So, what creature are we going to use? We are going to use, let's hop into this old hatchery looking thing over here. And we're looking for, there's our lovely Dino. I can actually show you the other one as well if I can find it. So you can see the sneaky, so that's what we're doing today, the Eustreptospondylus. I really don't want to have to say that word too many times. We also have Ephegia, which is a small herbivorous dinosaur, question mark. Anyways, Eustreptospondylus. There we go, not bad at that one. I'm going to pop out, I have hiccups, I'm going to pop out a few of these. I don't know if they come in a variety of colours. We are looking for a dark colour specifically. So, we'll get those on the go and I will continue My word speaking. So why are they used Streptospondylus? Because it certainly doesn't look like a hippopotamus. As I mentioned, the Bunyip, it gets around a little bit, folks. It really does. In 1818, they believed that these hippo-esque bones may be a Bunyip. In 1830, 12 years later, Sir Richard Owen found a set of bones belonging to a giant extinct marsupial, whilst remarking that the local tribes had discovered had described a similar creature already living in the waterways near their home. In 1847, another 17 years later, another explorer heard accounts from the Murundi people of southern Australia, and they described it as a giant starfish. Until someone makes me a starfish mod, don't have much chance with that one, I'm afraid. In the same year, a weird skull was discovered and hailed as evidence of the Bunyip, going so far as to being put on display in the Australian Museum. Turned out to be a baby cow skull, but that's neither here nor there. 2 years earlier than that, in 1845, it was described in another newspaper as being crocodilian, but with the head of an emu and a long neck. Basically, it's all a goddamn mess. Just to hammer the point home, I'm going to show you one of the depictions of a Bunyip so you can see exactly what we're dealing with here and how bizarrely different this. I mean, just look at it. What is that thing? It's absolutely bonkers is what it is. It's bonkers. Why are you taking so long? This is a Majungasaurus replacement, by the way. I cannot remember what the little dude replaces. The Dinosaurus replaces the... it's really good looking though, isn't it? Look at that! That's fantastic. That replaces the Aloro Titan. Very cool, very sexy. I don't want to move. I don't have that much text left. So, last little bit for the description. Over time, consistencies have begun to emerge, however. Most of the time, the Bunyip is now described as a large, quadrupedal and amphibious creature. Sometimes it's scaly, but often it's covered in a sheen of deep black fur, or even sometimes feathers. Its skull is often dog or seal-like, and I think the U-step has that kind of dog-like look to it too, which is why I've gone for it. And it grows up to 15 feet or so, though it's often seen in much smaller sizes, kind of like hippopotamus sizes. All told, I'm not going to get anything that looks like a Bunyip in Joey, because nothing looks like a Bunyip, because a Bunyip looks like 5,000 different things. But the Streptospondylus, with its low-to-the-ground body, dog-like skull, and menacing characteristics, seem like a good fit. And we'll get onto those in a second. Let's pop one out. I wonder if it's got the same colourings as the Majungasaurus. If it's just like a full-on remodelled Majungasaurus. It's not as low ground to ground as I thought it was. There was a couple, couple new mods, Walking with Dinosaur-esque mods that have come out fairly recently, that maybe resembled it a little bit more, that I would have liked to use. But the quality just wasn't quite there. A lot of people suggested the Suchomimus for the Bunyip, because it's a swamp creature and the Bunyip is often regarded as living in a swamp. This kind of looks like a Suchomimus with that long, slightly crocodilian looking skull. I mean, it's long at least. It's menacing, it's still quite low to the ground, it's dark in colour. I think it's pretty bloody cool. Let's pop out another one. This one should, if I remember, be quite a light blue, and if it is, that means I'm correct. Yeah. So the default might actually be the best. This one's not going to work anyway. You can go away. I'm going to pop out another couple, but default might be our champion for today. If I was going to be dark in colour, Step's always a good bet. What I'd be looking for is coastal, preferably. They're pretty cool though, aren't they? So again, this is part of the exotic dinosaur pack. Use Streptospondylus, Dinosaurus, and Fiji. I can't remember the other one. It's not even a particularly obscure dinosaur, I feel bad. Fiji, whatever the hell it's called. Anyways. So that is our Use Streptospondylus. We're going to hop into capture mode for a little bit. And that means you've got something to look at whilst I talk some nonsense at your faces. So, look at that. Beautiful. As with its appearance, so we're going on to characteristics. Why did I say menacing for the the Bunyip. Because a lot of you know the Bunyip. A lot of people recommended the Bunyip to me. And to a lot of you watching this, you may think of the Bunyip as this harmless, jolly creature. Because that's often how it's depicted. And as with its appearance, really the Bunyip cannot make its mind up as to how it wants to be. You know, whether it's a peaceful herbivore or a ferocious man-eating beast. For what it's worth, from my perspective, the peaceful herbivore slant seems to derive mainly from the sort of modern Caucasian reimaginings. Sort of in the way that you get Nessie with a tartan hat shoved into your face if you so much as breathe in Glasgow. You know, it's the same kind of deal, I think. It's very touristy these days. Nessie really, I mean, the Bunyip really is the Nessie of Australia, now that I think about it. Anyways, most of the Aboriginal tales, the original tales of the creature, especially those found in the early 1800s, definitely paint it as something much more ferocious. Hence, Streptospondylus blood, Dinora. And wherever possible, we do try to honour the original version of the creature rather than the reimagining. We're going to get onto that in a little bit. So, for examples, as I breathe, I talk too fast. I know, it's a problem. I'm working on it, alright? In the no, I can't do it. In the 1930s, the Bunyip was said to roam the village of Burrawang, which is such a cool name. Scaring the local miners with an earth-rumbling roar. They reported it shaking like whiskey jars off the shelves and stuff like that. Or some alcohol, anyway. In the Barwon River? I have no idea. By the south coast, the Bunyip was feared as it tore the local tribespeople apart before dragging them down into the swampy depths. More deaths were reported in the mid-1800s in Fiery Creek in western Victoria. These were told through carvings and paintings indented into the walls of nearby caves. Either way, the Bunyip was for a long time regarded as a evil spirit by the Aboriginal people across Australia, a kind of water spirit that likely served as a timely reminder that children should not venture down to the waters alone, lest they be snapped up by the beast. That's right, lest. I'll go back off script for a second. There we go. How you doing? Oh god, we need to make the actual enclosure. What's wrong with me? It's been so long. I've forgotten how things work. Alright, let's check this one out. Yep, that will do. That will be the one. Cool. I'll pop this one out as well and we'll see. Right, enclosure. Kind of a necessary step. Wait, where's my, the road? Oh, it's gonna, it's gonna be a bit awkward. I will see. Right, let's get to work. Can I use this fence? That is my invisible fence. I don't want that. Let's use this one. I'm gonna kind of curl down around the base of the mountain a little bit. So, the Bunyip. Where does the Bunyip live? I'm trying to like save a little room these days. This should be plenty. Usually in swamplands, so that's kind of the direction we're gonna really go in. It's just make it swampy as balls, basically. Kind of like the Everglades Park that we did fairly recently. So I'm just gonna temporarily get rid of the trees. And that's cool because we've got loads of water here, so it's gonna tie in really nicely. And we just kind of like jab at it like that, right? There we go. That's swampy as anything. That's swampy as blimmin' anything. Got some nice little different sort of levels to it. Let's get some trees in there. I think these are probably a better idea than the redwoods in terms of just thematically looking more appropriate. And they're going to stick primarily on the land. Let's kill them in the water. Water. There we go, Love. Good job, Love. Good job. I'm calling myself Love. I'm saying good job. Pretend I'm talking to the Joey woman. And then I kind of want it to be dense with foliage. Look at that. That is awesome. Awesome sauce, babes. Lit AF. See, I can be a cool kid. Oh, kill me. Just going to really make this dense with foliage. I want it to feel swampy and overgrown and murky. I love the idea. Like, I really like the idea of the Bunyip as this ferocious, carnivorous. I kind of like the idea of it looking like a hippo, but like drenched in this dark, long, sodden fur, and it's kind of got this, like, it looks hippo-esque, but then it's got this ferocious bite, and it kind of like sits in the water and just watches, and it would look like a log or like a piece of foliage just drifting by, and then this monstrous creature rises up and snaps people down. I think that's awesome. I'm very on board with that. It's one of the cooler aquatic cryptids we've heard about, because aquatic cryptids all have the same problem, in that because they're aquatic, nobody sees them, and they always look like bloody plesiosaurs or sauropods of some description, right? Well, the bunyip doesn't really have that problem. I'm going to make this fence invisible. Because it's only semi-aquatic, we get all the goodness of the aquaticness, but we also get, like, demonstrable sightings, and it gets to be this big, badass, ferocious hippo. I did nearly use the Sinoceratops, people suggested it, but since I much prefer the carnivorous interpretation of the creature, I decided that's the direction we're going to go in. And that's telling about the bunyip. I could have used Eustreptospondylus, this ferocious, low-to-the-ground, lean, mean killing machine, or I could have used the big, chunky Sinoceratops, and both would be entirely acceptable versions of this creature. I know there will be people watching this video who are like, what are you doing, BestInSlot? That's not what the bunyip looks like. And that's totally okay, but it does look like both, I'm telling you. There's so many different interpretations of this thing. It's absolutely nuts. Nobody can make their mind up at all. Which is a pain, but also cool. It's one of the more unique features about it, is how diverse its interpretations are. Which one's the cool one? Is it you? Yeah, you're the cool one, because you're like black in colour. That's what I'm looking for. Pew, pew, pew. No. I think we're only going to get one. I've not seen any talk about the bunyip being sighted in groups. It's not a paragraph, this has been flying through. So, we don't know what the bunyip really looks like. We've got some ideas, and this is the one we went for. As for what it does, well, there's not really that much on that either. A lot of people believe it has supernatural abilities, but really there weren't many reports on that, beyond that earth-shattering bellow I mentioned earlier. One tale did suggest the bunyip was capable of hypnotism. It said, let me try to remember this, I didn't write this down, it kind of hypnotized this woman to be its wife, essentially, to live with it for ages, until the spell was broken by an oncoming thunderstorm. It's very cool. I love random ass folklore like that. It's great. It was also said to be able to control, like, raise and lower the levels of the waterways in which it lived. Sometimes it is portrayed favourably, still monstrous, but as a guardian spirit protecting the waterways it lives in, and the waterways that the tribespeople did rely upon as well. Wait, what? What? My script makes no sense here. Oh, probably from European explorers who they're, needing protection from in the first place. Bloody Nora. One day I'd love to, I'm going to do a proper, I was watching a Monstrum video. They actually did a video on Bunyip fairly recently. And it's cool. It's cool. It's kind of got the vibe I would like to go for. If you haven't seen Monstrum, it's worth checking out. I would just like to go in a little bit more depth, basically. If you imagine what Trey does, and Trey, by the way, is like probably the best person on YouTube for cryptids, in my opinion. He does remarkably in-depth, detailed stuff, and he needs to do more of them. But he's very, very talented. Trey the Explorer, you should definitely go check his stuff out. But kind of like a halfway house. I can't stop saying house in that sentence. But halfway between what Trey does and what Monstrum does, I think would be a very cool combination. But we'll see. Anyways, getting ahead of myself. So that guy is getting sent over, so whilst that's going on, let's finish this a little bit. So, what is the bunyip then? If there are all these different stories about the bunyip has 25 billion different descriptions. Wait, are any of them going the right? Yeah, you my bunyip? You're my bunyip. There's our bunyip. So, let's address that first bit. I couldn't find any real evidence for this, but as I've researched cryptids more and more, I really get this strong feeling for these things and about where these tales come from, and, if I'm honest, by and large, there's a lot of commonalities between cryptids. My feeling is that the bunyip doesn't actually exist. Now, before any Australians out there come and attack me, let me explain. I don't think it exists even in Aboriginal folklore. Let me explain. Now, it's not that the creature itself doesn't exist, but that the bunyip as a singular entity linked to that name doesn't exist. Like the Chupacabra, you think of a Chupacabra, most people think of approximately the same thing. You think of Bigfoot, everyone thinks of the same thing. You think of Nessie, blah, blah, blah. That does not exist for the bunyip. The bunyip is known across essentially the entirety of Australia, but there's very little link between the descriptions, particularly the earlier sightings, the ones from the 1800s. So what I suspect is that each of these tribes essentially had their own bunyips. These were water spirits, evil demons, swamp-dwelling beasts, whatever you wanted to call them, all living under different names. It wasn't until the newspapers, the Caucasian newspapers in the early 1800s started to push the bunyip name that it became synonymous with all these different creatures, and over time kind of homogenized the sightings. And that's a little sad, and it's really not the first time similar has happened. So many of these cryptids have similarities in that they exist prior, looking back at the Wendigo for example, they exist prior to Western influence, and then when European explorers pop up, and I say this as a European myself, and an explorer, when the European explorers pop up, the creatures get hodgepodged into one, and then that hodgepodging, which is an official term, don't look it up, kind of seeps back into the native tail of the beast. And we end up here, with the bunyip usually seen as this bizarre, grinning, peaceful, jokey mascot, which is what it's seen as in large swathes of touristy Australia. I do digress, I'm going off topic, but I do think that's worth mentioning. And I think it's important to at least look at where these creatures are. I think that's awesome. I think I kind of want it to be, let's dabble in something we don't do. Let's make it dusk. Anybody? No dusk. I'm gonna hop into capture mode. I find that dusk is not dark enough for my liking, however. There's our bunyip. I think I may prefer the chonky version. If I could find like a furry, slightly angry Sinoceratops, that's probably the direction I would have gone in, but low to the ground, ferocious, crocodilian-esque features, long neck as well, which is quite a common feature of, according to one thing I read, 20% of bunyip sightings report it's a long-necked, emu-headed beast. I don't know, we're a good old hodgepodge here in Australia. Well, not in Australia, but you get my point. So, what is the bunyip? It's a hard question to answer, it really is. I really should just stay in capture mode. What am I doing? Tell you blimmin' what, let's go. Let's turn the rain on for a start. Let's turn the storms on. And let's turn the day-night cycle on. How's that for a slice of fried gold, eh? Yes, look at that. That's what we're looking for. Very sexy. Gonna go even more dramatic with the thingamajiggy. There you are. Very cool. Oh, we're on slow. I'm okay with that. Bunyip here, ready to eat some people and sell some tat. So, what are the bunyip sightings? The bunyip sightings are likely a result of what's called cultural memory. Ancestors of these tribes would have had contact with myriad beasts that do resemble a lot of the bunyip sightings. The Diprotodon, for example, is this gigantic extinct marsupial that lived in Australia, and it is remarkably similar to a huge number of bunyip sightings. It really is. Not the starfish, though. The starfish. As with a lot of cryptids. Where are we? There we are. It's hard to do this and read on my other screen at the same time. As with a lot of cryptids, the bunyip is probably a combination of two predominant things. That is bizarre animal sightings and tales told around campfires. Myths that kind of spiral and grow with each passing generation. Now that doesn't make them any less interesting. I actually don't know much about the bunyip before today, and I quite like it now. After my research and its weird amalgam nature. Amalgam, another fantastic word by the way. That's our bunyip right there. Oh, it looks kind of happy. Oh no, it looks terrifying. Never mind, I take it back. Take it back! Awesome stuff. Bunyip. It's also a very strange name, Bunyip. It makes me think of an evil bunny. Every time I hear it, I think it's going to be this giant demonic evil bunny. The bunyip, by the way, is not a koala. Can I just get this? Can we get this straight? The bunyip is not a koala. Okay, no matter what people tell you. Drop bears are koalas. That's a whole different kettle of fish. I'm not doing that. We'll have to do that in Planet Zoo. That's a fun episode. I like the bunyip. I will say, if I have one problem with it, and I'm sorry for everyone who loves the bunyip, because of the humongous differences in its reporting, which is its most unique feature to me, is that it's just reported at in so many different ways. But it means no one really has a good handle on what it looks like, no one has a good handle on the abilities. It's hard to pin something fascinating about the creature itself when nobody knows what the creature itself is meant to look like. As I say, the sightings have become more homogenized over time. It's often seal-like, often large and chonky and slow and lumbering and very waterborne and all this kind of stuff. I prefer this version. Go away, message sensor. Hopefully you guys can't see that. I prefer this version. And there are some, if you Google Bunyip and look on Google Images, you will find some that look remarkably like this. I do wish he looked a little bit more dog-like. That's my bad, because I thought he did based on the pictures, but alas, what are you going to do, eh? He's having a little nap now. A bunny nap. A bunyap. A bun nap. There you go. Top tier comedy. Right, that is it for today, ladies and gentlemen. I have no idea what the next cryptid will be, so feel free to let me know in the comment section down below. If you want to name our Bunyip, medium carnivore in the QT in the description. I did forget to do the Spinosaurus for the Oik monster from the last video, so I will get to that next time. If you want to go name large carnivore in the QT, you can do that for that as well, but focus on the Bunyip medium carnivore. We are running out of room. We probably have... has to end here, doesn't it? We can probably do 2 more habitats, but we're officially in the end game, ladies and gentlemen. Very exciting. I will see you lovely folks next time. Thank you so much for joining me. Again, I apologise about the delay. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I've been exceptionally tired. Like, I slept for like 12 hours, and then I was tired all day again, and there's something wrong with me. I don't really know what it is. But I'm trying to sort it out, and I enjoy work and stuff like this. When I get into it and I started researching stuff, I was like really excited, enjoying myself. It's just not always easy to drag myself to the computer, you know? But we're here. Get used to it. I'll see you lovely folks next time. If you are enjoying this series, please do hit the like button. I'd really appreciate that. Go over to Nexus Mods, which is linked in the description, if you want to check out the Exotic Dinosaur pack by Sweetener. Again, fantastic pack. The Dino-Kyrus in particular is brilliant, and there's another dinosaur for you to check out in that pack if you want to. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you lovely folks next time. Cheers much love as always. Bye-bye.